Now, that said, I want to go to Ambrose, and Ambrose makes an absolutely important point about HIV and AIDS. You see, in my report, I capture that, and I hammer the point on clause 3, 1B of the bill, that says that if you have HIV and AIDS, then you have to be treated in a different way. You know, aggravated homosexuality or aggravated rape. Again, this was picked from the Penal Code in regard to the aggravated rape.
Yes, whereas it's picked from the Penal Code, what it does is that it gives a lesser sentence. It gives a life imprisonment. And yet in the Penal Code, when you commit the same crime and you're heterosexual, you get death.
Yeah.
So this provision is actually lenient towards the homosexuals.
It waters it down, but again, in my view, it doesn't water it down that much for reason that I said here in my report, that it is not an offense to be a person living with HIV.
Yes.
This is discrimination. And as somebody who has practiced legislation for a long time, I'll never sit and watch anybody who is trying to make any law that discriminates against any person. And that is fundamental and goes to the fiber of Article 21 of our Constitution, because I'm a custodian of the law. And that's why I may speak totally different from the pastors whom I see, speaking, and I respect their viewpoints. But my issue is that you are going to drive people who are HIV positive underground. And once you do that, you can be sure that, first of all, you've not only discriminated against them, but you've not helped them to come out, and you're only not even helping in the fight against HIV. So that's one of the things that I pointed out in my minority report. Now, to come to the point of we are talking about these people need to be helped. They need to be helped. How do we help them? I have some suggestions. First, I have a suggestion born from the fact that I believe that this is a social challenge. In Uganda, we have the Association of Lawyers, Uganda Law Society. They receive funding, they receive support from government, they receive recognition. They have a platform from which they do things to provide like pro bono services to those who are disadvantaged from a legal perspective. How about the social challenges that people have in society? And one of the proposals that I've given out is that we should think about strengthening the Association of Social Workers. There are people who call themselves social work and social administrators. These are professionals like lawyers, whom I believe if we could strengthen them, they would go to society and help us tackle social problems like this one is.
One of the things that has been said that the gays need is rehabilitation. Yes. Now, when we spoke to Martin Semper, who admitted that he was one of the people that wrote that law, the bill that was debated, he says that they had a provision for rehabilitation, but because they have to get a certificate of financial implication when you're doing a law from the Ministry of Finance, that provision was removed because it was going to have a financial implication. So yes, the movers of this law actually had this in mind. However, because it would bring a financial burden on the country, it was removed for the greater good.
That's a misinterpretation. When we go for a certificate of financial implication, it does not mean that you are going to be given that certificate just because it doesn't have financial implication on the country, or it has. That is the misinterpretation that has always been there. And that's why a bill, when it is brought, it is for debate. And when we talk about anything having a financial implication, the Minister of Finance should do only one simple job: not deny an idea, because it could actually have financial implications, but it's necessary. And therefore, the Minister of Finance should always do one thing: say, this particular bill has no financial implication, okay? This other one has the following financial implications. And probably it could be one of those things pointed out in the financial bearings that would determine the contours of the whole bill. But it's not about denying, because if that was the case, then that would be disenfranchisement, because what if it has financial implication, but we need it? So I want that point also to be properly understood.